Today we're gonna learn together HTML and CSS from scratch. Even if you have zero experience on programming, you will be able to follow everything we do step by step. Of course, it's gonna be a huge tutorial. We're gonna spend around 3 hours together. And because we're gonna talk about a lot of things that you're not familiar with, it's gonna be normal that you're gonna have some information overload at some point. And all I want you to do is every time you feel like you had too much information going through your head, to just pause the video, take a break.
So while we learn HTML and CSS, at the same time we're gonna be building a project. We're gonna learn how to put titles, photos, bodies of text, buttons, how to build more complex designs, and towards the end we'll check some more complicated stuff, how to have information appearing in rollover out of thin air.
Alright, enough with this intro, you get the idea. So grab your coffee and let's start the ultimate HTML and CSS tutorial 2024.
Alright, the first thing we need to do is to download VS Code. So let's click the first one. I'm using Windows at the moment, so I'm gonna download from here. If you have Mac, you go there. I don't think anyone has Linux from my audience, but if you do, you can download yours over there. So when we click this button, automatically we get this window showing up that tells us where we want to download the exe file. And I'm gonna put on downloads and click save, and it's done. This is very simple. Visual Studio Code, it's a program that we open and we write code inside. It has some other functions that we'll see very shortly. The truth is that you can write code even on Microsoft Notepad. You can write code here and just then save the file as .html and it's gonna work properly. But if you do that, you will have to memorize everything. So they made a program that's called Visual Studio. It's from Microsoft and it has a lot of things that help you write your code and indicate when you make mistakes. They show you with colors and some stuff and they help you around, or you press simple buttons and they fill the code for you, so you don't have to remember much. So we are on downloads and we see the exe file here. We just double click it and it runs automatically. I will click I accept and next. Here's the path of where they are going to install all the required files for the program to start running properly. We don't need to change anything here. We just go next. Desktop icon, I don't need. Some people might want to click this one to have better access, but I'll show you how I work soon. And let's click next and install. Now we'll wait a couple of seconds. That took roughly less than a minute, and by having this clicked, it will open the program for us. So this right here is the program. Usually what I do is I right click down there and I pin it to the taskbar. All the programs that I use most of the time, like pretty much every day, I keep them right here. So I have them always with one click away to open them without having to go anywhere. And also this way I keep my desktop organized. What we need to do right here is to create a folder for this project that we're gonna make that will have all the files inside. What I see a lot of people do is they just right click here and create a folder. Let's name it HTML and CSS because that's what we're gonna do today. The problem with this is that every time you open your computer, it's going to load everything you put in here, and if you have heavy files in here, your computer is gonna be very slow on the restarts. So we're gonna cut it, Control X, and we're going to put it inside some of your drives. It could be the C, for me it's the D. I will just paste it here and then right click, show more, and send to desktop. So this way we have the file actually over here, but on the desktop it shows now this little icon. That means it's a shortcut. So when you open your computer, it doesn't load everything that's inside. It's only loading this small thing. We can see that it's only 4 kilobytes. And no matter what you put inside, it doesn't matter. It will stay 4 kilobytes because you only saved here the path to the actual file, where the file is on your PC, on the hard drive, and this folder right here. So we can actually drag and drop this file right here, or you can go open folder, and we said that our file is on D, HTML, CSS, it's this one, and we'll go add. Do you trust the author? Of course we trust because it's us. So in here we have the empty file, and we can create some documents that we're gonna work on. One of them is gonna be called index.html. And usually when you make sites, you call the first file like the landing page or the home page of your website. You name it index.html. So this way, when you upload your files to the server later on, the server knows automatically that this is what it has to show when somebody visits your site, and you don't have to set manually anything else. It's presetted to open the file named index.html. And in here is where we actually write the HTML code. If you open the browser Google Chrome, we'll go in here on the three dots and we'll go to more tools and developer tools. You will see something like that. So in here, it's actually showing us what is the HTML code of the page we are viewing. Right now we are viewing Google, and this is all the code they have inside to show us just this minimal page with a white background and a text holder and a couple of buttons. So let's zoom in so you guys can see it better. The first line of code is this one. It's very weird with symbols and stuff like that. Then it says head, and it has some other things that look like Greek to me. Well, I'm Greek actually. So all these things make no sense to us yet. The only thing that makes sense is this. So this is the only thing that we can understand. It says title Google, and it's this one. If I change it here and I say my website, you see up here it changed right there, my website. We see that the title is what's changing there. All the rest look like a different language. Let's go back to our program, VS Code, and I want you to press exclamation point and enter. So remember that I told you we can write code on Notepad. We would have to remember all this. On this program, VS Code, the moment you press exclamation point and enter, it gives you all this code, and this is the absolute necessary things you need to create a website, so the browsers know that this is the HTML code and they can read it actually, because we're going to create some other files that are not HTML. They are other languages, and the browser needs to know that this is actually the HTML. That's why we start like that. We tell to the browser, listen, this document is going to be HTML, and we see an opening tag here that says HTML language equals N. This means our main language is going to be English right here, and this tag actually stops down there. We tell him from the second line of the code until the end of the code, it's going to be HTML in English. Then we have the head that starts here and finishes right there. Inside the head, we are actually communicating with the browser. For instance, Google Chrome. Let's save this document. When you see the white dot here, it means we did changes, but they are not saved. So all these lines are not saved. We're going to File and Save, or you can use Control S. Now we can either open our file right here, and we can see this one. I'm gonna right click, open with Google Chrome, and we have an empty site that says up here document, and it has nothing inside. So we already know that if we change the title, it's gonna change up there, and now it says document because in here we write title document. On this lesson we are actually gonna build a project. It's gonna be named my top 5. Now we have this white thing again. If we open the browser, even if we restart it, this is not changed because we didn't save the changes. Control S, this white dot disappeared, which means it's saved. And in here, it's not changed because we have to refresh. Let's refresh the browser and boom, my top 10 is written up there as the title of my page. And why the title is inside the head and it's not inside the body? Because what goes in the body is actually what's gonna start showing in here underneath all these bars. So what's up there, it's about the browser. That's why the title is in the head, because whatever it's inside the head, we communicate it to the browser. So right now we are using Google Chrome. Other browsers can be Firefox, Safari, Opera, and everything we see here. It's a long list that goes down, 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 down. We have so many options. So even if your favorite browser is something else, I suggest you download Google Chrome as we work here, so we both see the same stuff. So we go down to the head. This is the character set. If you leave your mouse on top of something, you can start reading all this explanation. This is UTF-8 that we are going to be using. There are some other ones that you can use, but this is the default one and there's no reason to change it. Then we have another meta tag, viewport width equals device width. This is actually for the browser to understand that if I open this site on my laptop, the width is gonna be the width of my screen. If I open it in my cell phone, it's gonna be the width of my cell phone, and this is how we communicate it to the browsers. And initial scale 1, this means that just don't scale it up or down. Whatever we write, this is what you're going to show. This is a very short description of these things. After finishing this video, you will be ready to follow our next tutorial where you can build your first portfolio website, and in there we will talk extensively about extra meta tags you can add, like keywords, description, author. The important thing to notice is that some tags like the HTML, it opens here and it's closing there. Also the body is opening here and it's closing here. Also the head is opening there and it's closing all the way down here. But the meta tags, they just open and they don't close. So these ones we call them void elements or self-closing elements because they don't need a closing tab. In the beginning, other than changing the title, we don't need to do anything else, and all the work we're gonna do is inside the body. Let's see some examples of what we can do. Usually we will need a title. Title tags start with H1. So we start with a greater than sign and we put inside H1 and then we close it, and automatically VS Code is giving us a closing tab on the right side of the cursor. And inside we can write like this is the title of my site. Control S to save. And we go back to our browser and we refresh. We see big bold letters of what we wrote inside the H1. Right now I can just do that. So we keep the website over there. We also keep VS Code over here. So we see immediately what we did over there. What happens if we do H2? H2, this is an H2. Let's Control S, save it and refresh over there. This is a bit smaller, you will notice. We can go all the way down to H1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up to 6. H6 is the last one we can use. This is an H6. Save with Control S and refresh over there. So if you want, you can go on and write in between all the other ones and see them gradually going from large to small. We see that the H1 element represents a section of heading. So this is why we use it on titles. What happens if I wanna move this title a little bit to the right? A lot of people from intuition, they would go right here and put a lot of spaces and save it and refresh it, but nothing happens. So this is why actually before the H1 we have spaces as well. And even if I put enter here, enter, and press save, Control S and refresh, it doesn't read all the enters, it doesn't read all the spaces. So you actually can't really use these things to morph what you see on the right side on the websites. Let's undo. So this is something that you have to keep in mind. This is actually why we're going to use CSS, because in HTML what we write in here, it's actually only the content that we have on the site. For instance, we put all the photos, all the texts, all the titles, all the paragraphs. We put links, we put buttons, and then when we wanna change how they look, the style of them, if we wanna put different colors, if we wanna put backgrounds and stuff like that, we just go to CSS and we do it there. So a lot of people intuitively will think that we need an H1 when we want to use some big title, big text, and H2 when we want a smaller one, and H6 when we want a really small one. It doesn't really work like that because, as we said earlier, we don't use HTML to style the content. We use CSS for that. H1 is a very important title and we can use only one H1 per page, and this is a very important rule to know, because if you don't obey it, your site is going to be penalized on Google search. When people search it on Google, it's gonna rank down, because it's gonna have this penalty that you used more than one H1. And also if you don't use at all H1, you're gonna be penalized as well. So the H1, we actually use it to tell Google that this title inside the H1 is actually describing the whole page. And we can have as many H2s as we want and as many H3 as we want. We said the H, it's for heading and it's for titles. What happens if we wanna add plain text? We just use P, we write like that, and in here we can write paragraphs. This is a paragraph. Save, refresh. We see that P is way smaller. All these things we can morph them later on. We already learned a couple of things that we can work on HTML. I'm going to delete these ones, save and refresh. So we're going to start building immediately our first exercise, and I want you to go on the link that you have below this video, codingwiththanos.com. Let's go to tutorials. I want you to click on the tutorial we're using today, an HTML CSS for absolute beginners. And if we scroll down, we are going to see the download assets button right here. We'll click it and we download all the graphics we are going to use. I'm going to put on downloads at this moment. So we'll go to download, we just click it and we'll click extract all, because this is a zip file that contains a lot of photos we are going to use. And helping material, we just go inside. At this moment, we're gonna open the draft. Let's leave the navigation bar for later on when we know more about HTML and CSS. So we'll skip that and we'll start with what we know now, how to put a title and how to put a body of text. Inside the files, you can see that I have two logos. One is my top 10 and the other one is my top 5. Right now I'm gonna be using the top 5. But if you want to exercise more, you can start using the top 10. So you will have even more things to write inside HTML. So you will have more practice. If not, you can follow me and use the top 5. So let's go and start writing from this section right here. This is going to be our H1. And then in there, it's going to be our paragraphs. Let's add this to HTML, H1. And inside we write my favorite top 5 list. And underneath we can put the paragraphs. So I went on and I wrote some paragraphs. Let's press save here, Control S and refresh over there so you can see what we've done. One thing that you notice is that for each paragraph, I wrote a different P. You can either pause the video and copy my text or take an idea about my text and adjust it, make changes for yours. But I want you to write a small sentence about you and then something about the project we are building. As you do that, you will see that something happens in VS Code that's very annoying. When you have long lines of text, it creates this scrolling in order for you to see the whole line. So it keeps it all in one line. If you're a beginner, what you do usually is to go there and press enter and go here, press enter and go there, press enter and enter and enter until you see the whole line. If I save this, Control S and refresh, as we said in the beginning of the video, when you press enters, they don't affect the style of your page. So it's like we have no enters on the website actually. But this way is not correct. Let's undo. You can undo by pressing Control Z, Control Z, Control Z again and again until we go to the beginning state, and then we press Control S to put a save. The correct way, if this scrolling is very annoying to you as it is to me, we'll go on File, Preferences and Settings. In here we'll have a search bar, we'll write wrap and we'll go on the first one that says word wrap on the editor, and from off, that is the default, we turn it on and we'll close this window and look what happened now. Now the main difference between this way that we did it now and by pressing enters, this is a dynamic way. So if your window is shorter, it's adjusting and it happens automatically. And the second one that's kinda important, we have these spaces here, you see. So all this from here until here, it's one line of code. You didn't create extra lines, so that's why you have the space here. And all this that looks like 4 lines, it's only line 13. But if we had enters here and enter, you will see that it creates all these lines of code that are not needed at all. Let's undo again. So this is the proper way to do it. Let's press save and let's move on. So hopefully you don't see anything red here. Red would be like errors. The important thing to notice is that you open the P and you close the P on every paragraph. For instance, if I forgot something like to put P here and I press Ctrl S and I refresh over there, we'll see something red here that's notifying us visually that something is wrong here. So I put it back. One thing you might notice if you use special characters like this one is that sometimes it's putting them in a special box. If I have another P right here, I want to write 4 is smaller than 5. Press save and I refresh over there. We see it clearly over there, but in here we see this one red. And why is that? It's because the browsers will see this and they will think that you want to open a tag, but you never really opened it and they get confused. So when you want to present a symbol inside your text that it's actually not related to the coding, we call these HTML entities. We can just Google it. You don't have to remember anything. You can just go here and write HTML entities. Click the first one. These are the ones that are more popular, I guess, on using, but there is also a huge list of symbols and sign. What it's telling us is that less than the one we actually used, it's this code. So we copy this code, Control C, can go in there and replace the sign with this code, save. By refreshing here, we see that this code right here actually shows as less than in the website. We can do the same with this thing. We need the single quotation mark. The code is this one. We just copy it, and everywhere that we see something highlighted, we just do it like that. Another way to find it is like if you write in here and then start typing something, yeah, it shows you like down here all the characters. It has the huge list that I was telling you about, and by scrolling it you can have an idea of how many crazy symbols you can find here. All this is embedded on VS Code. It's helping a lot, but you can also Google the specific thing, or you can Google a whole list of entities and you can find it on the web as well. Let's delete this line now. As you noticed, all the time we have to put save here and then refresh there. We already did it like 5-6 times. Wouldn't it be amazing if we had that tool that every time we save the document, it automatically refreshes the web page over there so we can see the changes we did? This actually exists. We can go on extensions. We are here right now, and we can go down on extension and we'll write live server. Let's open it to see what's going on. So this one has 43 million downloads. So we're gonna install that one. We just press install, we wait this, and boom, it's ready. So how we are gonna use it? This one we can close, we don't need it anymore. And we'll go in here on our HTML document and we right click it, and now after installing this plugin we can see open with live server. So we open it and it's right here, the second tag. The first one is the old one, I can delete it, and the second one is the new one. So this time if I write something here h2, this will show automatically on save. And now the moment we put a save, you can either click Ctrl S or save here, boom, it shows automatically over there, so we don't have to refresh anymore a million times every time we put a save. This amazing tool. Let's delete this one and press Ctrl S for save, and we see automatically that changed over there too. This is great. And I think it's this time of the day that we will have to start changing colors and doing crazy things here. So we'll go right here on the first one on the Explorer, and we're gonna press this that adds a new file. So we'll create a new file inside the HTML CSS folder that we have right here, and right now we have only index.html. So let's go here and add a new one. We're gonna name it style.css. Enter. The moment we do it, it opened a new tag over there. And if you go on your file as well, you will see style.css. Style, we usually call the CSS files because that's what they do. They are styling the HTML. Now we created a second file called style.css, but in order to communicate with the HTML, we have to put a meta tag. I want to open a meta tag. Usually when you open a meta tag, you put the less than sign. Now I will skip this step and I will start writing the tag I wanna open. The one we wanna use now is link, because we wanna link the CSS file to our HTML file. So by writing just no tags, no nothing, just writing the word link, we just press tab. It already created all the things we need to write. Rel style sheet, VS Code wrote for us. It opened the tag, and this is a self-closing tag. It closed the tag. The only thing we have to write something is this one, that it shows the path of the CSS file and which one is it, because maybe you have a lot of CSS files. You have to link the specific one for this page. By writing dot slash, it opens the specific root folder, which is HTML CSS. So we just click on style CSS. We only have to just save this. So now it's linked. Now we want to change the H1, how it looks. We'll go on the CSS, and what you want to do is when you want to target this element, the H1, you just write here H1 and we open brackets, and in here we write the code of what we want to change. Let's change the font size. Font. If we write font, we see font family, weight, style. We want font size. We can write, make it 30 pixels. We can change it in pixels, and by pressing save, we see that became a little bit smaller. If we write 100 pixels, it's gonna make it way larger. Why pixels are not good to use as a font size measurement? It's because if we open this one and we go here, and we'll click on settings. If we click on appearance, we see font size. Right now it's medium. Yeah. Let me bring it over here so we see what's going on. So we have medium. If I go very large, you see that the P changed, became larger. The font size on the H2, because we put it on pixels, it stayed the same. If I put very small, the P is changing, the other one is not. So you're losing this flexibility. It's not technically correct. So one way to go around that. So when it's about font size, we're gonna be using another one instead of pixels that's called rem. So let's put 3 rem, save. So now that we are in rem, if we go ahead and go very small, everything is changing. Very large, everything is changing. We'll keep it on medium and close this thing. So from now on, we're gonna be using rem instead of pixels when it comes to font size. Now we are targeting H1. You can enter, press one enter here and just write color, press tab and write red and save. It changed the color of the text in red. You can put background color light gray, save. It gave the background a light gray color. We can do a lot of things like that here, but at the moment we have our draft that we have to follow, so we're gonna start doing the changes. We see here that on the H2 we have a different font that looks like handwritten a little bit, and we see here that it's not like only the background of the H2 gray, but it's a whole box all around all this area. So how to create boxes? If we enter inside the body, we'll call it division, and we write just div. We open it here and we're gonna close it all the way down there. And because all of those are inside the div, we're gonna highlight them and press tab once, so visually we know that the body starts here and ends over there in this line, and this box starts from here and ends over there. And inside this box we have all these things. Let's put a save first of all here, because I see the white dot. Save. And if we want to target the div, because the div is on top of H1, it's better to press a couple of enters and open it here. So we'll go div, we open brackets, background color, we can press tab and we say gray. Save. And from the H1 we can delete this background color. Also, according to our sketch, the title is supposed to be black and the paragraphs are supposed to be white. So we delete this one and save. And then we go on the paragraphs and we press P, we open the brackets and we say color white. Save. Nice. So as we can see here, we have a photo over here and it's next to our div. So we can grab another div like that. So it's gonna be like grabbing a box, and inside the box we're gonna put this image. If you are there, you can press one tab and we'll go div. In order to put a photo, we have to save a photo right here on our HTML CSS file. So I want you to go on your Facebook, find a photo that you like, right click, save image as, and if we go on the desktop, we can find the HTML CSS shortcut that we have, enter, and just rename it profile dash photo and save. It's better to have a photo that's like a portrait, not horizontal. So going back, we see here that we have also another file. It's a photo.jpg. We're gonna use image tag img and we press tab. It's a self-closing tab, just like meta. And we see here we have the source. src is the source. We can press dot slash and it's opening all the files we have here. We need the JPEG. We just write it here. And if I press save, you can see that we have a photo here, but it's huge, gigantic. And this one that says alt and right now it's empty. We can write an alternative text. In here you have to describe the photo. Thanos profile photo. So this we need it for two reasons. One reason is that if something went wrong and our photo can't show, let's say we did a typo here. So now we have this broken image and it reveals this text. So let's undo this and save. Now we don't have this text showing anywhere. It's invisible in the page, but if somebody has a screen reader and they can't see what's going on, the screen reader is gonna read this text to them, so they have a description of the photo because they can't see the photo. This is the most important reason to put it, so you are not excluding people for viewing your websites and your creations, and you are inclusive and you take care of other people and you give them some description on the photos that they cannot see. Let's open the site to see what's going on. So here we see some bad things going on. One thing is that this photo is huge, yeah? We'll have to make it way smaller. Let's start by that. We'll go on CSS. So here we can right click on this tab, we can split right, delete from here. Let's close this one as well. So we'll have one side the HTML and another side the CSS. What we want to do is we want to target this image right here. So we say img, we open brackets, and I will say width for 30 pixels. Save. Let's go back to our page. Now I noticed two things. One thing is that we have a white space all around, and then we have the gray background, and then a white space and another gray background. Why this is happening? This is happening because if we check our codes, we have one div and then we have another div, and we said to the CSS that all the divs have to have a gray background. So in reality, actually, we need to make a third div that is keeping all this together, because this is gonna be the container and we're gonna tell it what you have inside, split them one next to another, because the natural state, we have the image, it's one thing, then we have the h1, it's another thing, and everything we write goes one on top of another. That's why we have this structure, the photo underneath this h1, underneath all the piece. So now we are supposed to create a container that we tell him inside you have two divs. You have div 1 and div 2, and the big one, let's make it green. So the third one is going to be the div container. Inside it has a div 1 and div 2. We can easily write div, and we're going to close it right here, and all of those that are inside we'll give them tab once. The problem with this thing is that we have div, 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 and if you have a more complex structure, you will have a million divs. So when you see it, it's gonna be crazy confusing. Or if you work in a company and you deliver a job like that, and after a year you wanna change something yourself, or one of your co-workers goes inside to do a change, they will be like, I don't understand what's going on here, because we don't give them any information. And also, you remember with H1, every time we write HTML, we also communicate with Google search, and all the search engines actually have to communicate not only with people but with robots as well. Yeah, if we start using divs everywhere, it's like we tell them all the information is the same, and that's bad for them, but it's bad for us as well. So instead of the div, we'll have some other alternatives. So instead of a div here, we'll use a main. Let's go in here and write main. And if you change it manually as I did, you will have to also change down there the closing tab. And this is very confusing. You have to be super careful. Main. Okay, that you do the same and you don't do this one, for instance. There is also another thing that can help us. So we'll go to extensions and we'll write story name tag. We see it here, 16 million downloads, install, and that's it. We can close this thingy, go back to normal, and let's try it. We have the main. If I wanna make it a div, it changed down there automatically. If I wanna put it on section, it changed out there automatically, and if I wanna put it back to main, it changed again automatically. It's very helpful because it's super dangerous if you change the opening tag to forget the closing one. So main, we can use only one, and it's going to be the main content of our page. Then we'll have another one up here that's gonna be the header. So the top is gonna be the header, the in between is gonna be the main, and down there we're gonna have the footer, and all the other divisions we have, like this landing screen or the books or the songs, are gonna be sections, and inside the sections then we're gonna have some divs, of course, that we don't name them something very special. It's div, 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 div. All the red boxes are gonna be divs. All the green ones are gonna be sections. And then we'll have the header up there. In the bottom, the footer. Anything in between, it's gonna be main. And inside the main, every division that is actually important, it's gonna be named sections. So this way we don't have all over a million divs. So let's do that. We have the main here. We will have in the beginning, inside the body, we'll have, we said, a header. Then in the end, we'll have a footer. And all of those are actually exactly the same as divs, but we write them like that because it's easier for us humans, and it's also easier for the robots to know what information goes where. So we do have the main, but in here we still need another container that concludes all this information, because as we said in the example, the main is the whole box in here, and we still need a section that contains the image and all the rest over there. So let's make a section here, section, and all of those, we'll give them one more tab, and the section is gonna close right here. One problem we have is that we're gonna start using sections down there as well, yeah? And we don't want all the sections to have this color, the gray background. Like here we gave the div a gray background, but it went to all the divs, and we don't want all the divs to have gray background as well. Let's delete this one. So what we can do, instead of writing here just section background color gray, and save this and that. So this works because we have the whole thing is gray, but the problem we have is that it's gonna make gray all the other sections. So what we can do is give it a special name for this section. So the unique name we're gonna give it is called ID. So ID will give it of landing. If we give something an ID name, it has to be unique. We can't use it again. But I already know that this is gonna be the landing, this is gonna be the books. We will not have another one with books. This is the songs, this is the series, this is the movies. I'm only using them once. This is why I can give them ID names, because it's not gonna be repeating ever. So before we used to say section and opening brackets just like that. When you have an ID in front of the name, we put the number sign. So I write number sign landing, and now I open brackets, and let's say background color red, save, and let's see, because now we target both, and now the background color is red. Let's see something interesting now. Let's say that we have this one that says section, and then I have another section, background color blue, save. Now the background color is blue because this one is in the bottom. So the browser reads like that. It goes to the section, it makes it gray, then it goes over there, it makes it blue. The one that's on the end, it's gonna be the last change that's doing, and it's gonna be the one that we see. But now that I have an idea of landing, if I go up there and I put the $sign landing, and I make this one background color yellow, and I save it. If we go back, we'll see that it reads that one. This is called specificity, and if you see here that we said that all the sections are this color, it has 001. The idea is we can use it only once, and it has huge importance. So wherever you write it, if you use the ID, it's gonna be the one that we're going to use. Let's make it again Great. This one that says landing, it has two divs inside. 1, 2. So I want to say these two boxes that you have inside landing, put them next to each other and not one on top of another. So we'll go in the landing and we'll say display flex, save. And when we go back here, we see that now these two boxes came one next to another. So by saying to the container, the landing display flex, put all the containers that you have inside you, these two divs, one next to another. If I go on, let's target all the divs and let's say to them display flex. Let's see what's going to happen. Save. You see what happened here? This div, okay, it had only one photo, but we said on this one, everything you have inside, instead of putting it one on top of another, put them one next to each other. This is what display flex is basically doing. And that's why we have here the title and all the piece one next to each other. Let's delete this thing. So let's talk about fonts in this moment. This one looks like Times New Romans. On the title we have a font that looks like handwritten a little bit. And down there we have just a clean font. If you want to use a crazy font, chances are that it's not installed on anybody's computer but yours. So if I just go on and put this font through CSS, they will not see that font that we put, and their computer will try to put a similar one, but it's going to be different, and we want to have full control on our design. So what we do in this situation is that we go on Google and we go to a website called Google Fonts. So we click in here and we choose from this long list all the fonts that we are going to use in our website. The clean one I told you is Roboto. It's a very good font and most of the designers use it. Here you can activate and deactivate which font you want. This one that says 100 is how thin it's going to be, so we want the thin one. We have selected the 100 and the 500. And this is the handwritten one, and we're just gonna use one weight here, the regular. We see here we have two of them selected up here on the review, and down here it has our code ready for us to use. The first one is for HTML, tells right here, and it's also telling us where to paste it inside the head. And the second one is for the CSS. Let's copy the first one for HTML, copy it, we go here, let's paste it under the title, Ctrl V to paste. We can press tab here so all of them are in the same space. What we just did is that we tell all the devices, even if they are computers or laptops or whatever, that they will go to this link and they will download the font automatically from Google Fonts website. So this way we make sure that nobody's gonna miss the fonts we are using. So we also had another code which is for CSS. Let's copy that as well, and we'll go on CSS and just paste it at the top, and we're gonna turn it into a comment. So we highlight the whole thing and we press Ctrl and slash, and this way it puts this one in front and this in the end, and it tells all the devices that everything that's in between, it's a comment. The font we will be using the most, it's the clean one, that it's all over the place. So this one we can assign it directly in the body. If we see here, the body is from here and it contains most of our website, what we see inside the browser. So we'll go and we'll say body, open parenthesis, and we'll grab Roboto, this one, it's the font family, Ctrl X to cut it, and we paste it in here and save. When we go back to our site, we see that now everything has the clean font. However, this one is thick and we actually need the thin one there. So what else can we do is go under this and put font weight 100, save, and we'll have it 100. If you wonder why this one is still thick, it's because this is an H1 and H1 usually makes them bold. Now that we are in the body, another thing we can see is that we have a lot of white space all around, but we didn't tell the browser to put white space anywhere, right? So right now we have to talk a little bit about the box model. So we see here that this is a div inside, it's the content, and it has a width and a height. On our case, we put some width at the image. It's 430 that we see it here. So this occupies the whole div and the text side of the things occupies the whole screen. So if I minimize it, they adjust automatically. They try to occupy the rest of the screen. So we have some padding, a border, and a margin. What's the difference of all these things? Let's check them out. As you see, we have a background color here, and we see that the white space is not colored light gray. This indicates that probably it's a margin that we have outside of our box. Our box with a color is the landing section with ID landing. Let's see what happens if we give it margin 80 pixels. Save. Boom. Now we have more white space around that is not colored gray. This is the base difference of margin and padding. Let's give it some padding now to see what's going on. Padding 100 pixels. Save. Now we have some space with the color of the background. So this is the main difference from padding, margin, and then we could have some thickness over a border. Let's go on and try that as well to see what's going on there. We'll go border, solid, and black. When we say solid, it means that all the border is a whole line, because we can do dotted as well or some other stuff. We don't really use them because they look like kind of old. Let's give it some thickness as well. Border width 20 pixels and save. Now we see that we have a border. So all these things add up, and this is basically how we use them. Let's again delete them once more. Boom, boom, boom. Save. And let's see where we were in the beginning. We were like that. So if you're not sure why this white space is there, because we didn't put any margin, you can always go right click and inspect down here. Let me make these ones a bit smaller again. And by clicking here, we can see the box model. The main doesn't have any margins. These divs, of course, don't have any margins, but however, the body has 8 margin. This is automatically set to the body. So we can go on and say on the body margin 0. Save and boom. No more margins. Let's close this one again. So this is a way how you inspect, and when you have things that you don't understand how they work, you can see them there. Another thing I see now, it's in the photo. If we zoom in, we have a little bit of space that is gray down there. It's only a couple of pixels down here, but still we have to do pixel perfect designs. So by inspecting the image, we don't see any extra margins anywhere. However, to solve this, we will go to the image and we put display block, save, and it's gonna fix it at the moment. Keep this as a hack, and we will explain later on when we work on the nav bar, on the navigation bar. So what's left is to apply the font here. We have it ready. Font family, it's this, the code we need to use. We cut it and we delete this one, we don't need it anymore. We have H1 ready here. We can just apply it over there and save. Very nice. As long as we are on the H1, we have to give our design some space as well, as we see here. We can apply it right now. One way to do it is we could go on H1 and give it some padding of, let's say, 100 pixels. This one brings the title on the right, so we have some space. Let's make it 80 actually. But it goes all around. We don't need all this down there. One way to do it is we go padding left 50 pixels. Save. So this way we have it on the right, but the thing is that we would have to apply it on all the P as well. So another way to do it is, let's go back. It's a smarter way, supposedly, that we go on the image and we give it padding right 80 pixels. Save, and this way the image is pushing all the text on the side over there, which we like a lot. As we see here, we have a little bit of more extra room on the top. So now we go on the title and we give it padding top 50 pixels. Let's try better. And we'll have to go to all the P's. Let's increase the font size as well. Font size 1.5 rem. We said we do them on rem. We want them a little bit smaller than the H1. H1 is 3 rem at the moment. Let's make them half. Whoa, we came amazingly close to our draft over here. One thing is missing though, as we see over here. Inside our paragraphs, we have some individual words that they change styling. And this, how can we do this? It's a bit of impossible right now with the things we know at the moment. So now we have to introduce some secrets that we didn't explain earlier. For instance, if I want to do something bold here, I can do strong. This is an open and closing tag, of course, and we call it text elements because we put inside words. We wrap it, the strong, around the words we want to make bold. Let's save it, go back, boom. Wow, this is too bold. So in here we saw the strong. There are other stuff you can use. You can do U. That means underline, and now it's underlined. And there are a couple of more, but we are not going to be using them at the moment. And now we'll use something called span. And let's save it. Span, if you see over there, it did absolutely nothing. We don't see any changes here. And that's because we use span. So we can grab it here and say span. And in here, we can put actually the CSS. We want to change the font weight 500. And also want to change the color. So we'll go color. We can go blue at the moment. You see we have it bold and blue. However, as I see here, we have a lighter blue version. Let me check the code. So this is a hex code that we can use. I will copy that. It's a 37D1FF. And instead of writing blue, we start with a number sign. This is for the hex code. We do that. However, you can of course just go in here and experiment, change it around, and go to other colors, green, blue, whatever you want, and it's gonna give you automatically up here the hex code, and it's gonna update it automatically. That's why we like to use VS Code, because it has all this amazing stuff that makes your life easier. This is the one I chose though. Very nice. So now that we have our span ready and we know how it works, we can go on and wrap on spans all the words we want to use. This one, the webs and graphic design, it wasn't the one that was highlighted on my example. So what you are supposed to do is to go individually and write one by one by one by one all the spans. Let me delete this one for now. I will show you a hack right now. We'll go in front of the words we want to put a span around. For me, one is top, and we hold Alt. We'll go in front of the other one. The other one is Thanos. The other one is HTML. The other one is CSS. The next one is code and design right here. I have two more for me. That is the passionate, user-friendly right here. So now I release the Alt. I was holding Alt the whole time, yeah, when we click. Now we have all these indication blinking at the same time, which means we're gonna do some Harry Potter magic. And you write, just open bracket, write span, close the bracket, and press escape. Boom. So we wrote at the same time on all the spots we need to write. This is amazing and saves a ton of time to you when you're coding big projects. And the only thing left to do is to highlight the words and drag and drop them inside the spans. So I have this one, I have Thanos, drag and drop, boom. I have CSS. You have to have a precision. Don't drag and drop it inside the span, just between the tags, opening and closing tag. In the beginning, maybe it's a bit harder for you to do these things, but that's why we practice, and that's why we have all these words in here. So you do some practice, and of course you will practice more after these lessons. We'll have another lesson, how to build your first portfolio, and it's using only CSS and HTML. All the things we are learning now. You can go to the next lesson after this one, and you're gonna learn a lot of extra tips and tricks that we didn't have the time to show here. You will find them there. You will have a lot of extra information that will help you not only on the coding but on your workflow to be fast and efficient. The video is this one, how to build your first portfolio website. Okay, enough with this. Let's go back to the exercise now. Don't forget when you see a white round dot here to put a save so we can see all the updates. Oh my goodness, I closed this. So how we reopen it? Sorry, I have a million tabs here. We right click on the HTML and we go open with live server. If you go on the CSS, there's no such an option. So you have to remember, you can only right click on HTML because HTML is what the browser is opening. The CSS is linked in here and the computer is watching it and reading it later on. The thing the browser is open is the HTML, so we go here and we go open with live server. Oh my god. These are my noisy neighbors, guys. Can you hear them? I wanna show you actually now a little bit of my setup. Not to brag about it, just to show you. Now I'm not sure how I'm going to show you though, but I will try with my phone maybe. Just in case if you have an extra screen in your house, you can connect both the screens on your computer or your laptop. So this is my setup at the moment. I can write code on one screen, do changes, and immediately see them updating here. So it saves me a lot of time. And of course, the cool thing is that you can drag and drop stuff from one screen to another. If you need something else here, you can just grab it and move it from one screen to another. Just drag and drop. It's pretty impressive if you haven't seen it before. So that was the landing page. What we see right here actually is that the whole site, all the website, has a light gray background. And we can see it here because this is white. And we see that the background is not that white. Let's go on and apply that on our HTML. We'll go on the whole body and we'll give it background color. You remember we used hex code the other time. I want to show you something different. It's RGB. This is another type of coding. It comes from 3 colors: red, green, and blue. And by adjusting the intensity of these 3 colors, you create all the colors of the spectrums for the screens. So we open parentheses in here and we give them values. Actually, all the values are going to be 240. Usually when you have them all the same, it's something gray or black or white. This one is a light gray. We just save it and now our whole website is going to be light gray. So let's go here and see what we're going to do next. So the next thing we have to do is we're gonna build another section. So this is going to be a section of books. Then we have another title. We said here that was H1, but we said we can only use one H1, yeah? So this has to be an H2. So here, don't get scared because we're gonna build everything one by one. In the beginning, we will focus on this thing and you will see how easy it is. This is actually one more box. So we'll have a div with a white background. Inside we will put one image, we'll put a title and a subtitle and text. One thing we see here is that this photo is on the side. Probably you are thinking we're going to use, like right here, display flex on this container because this is going to be the parent div. On the parent div, if we have one div here and all these things on a second div and we put display flex on the parent on this one, it's gonna be alright and it's gonna work, but I'm gonna show you an easier way that you don't have to put a million containers. One thing I want you to do at the moment is to Google and find 5 or your top 10 books. You can maybe open a Word document or something to write on your computer, or you can take a pen and paper like old school stuff and write them down on a paper, because part of what we do when we build a site is research. And this is your research. At the moment, I just want you to create your list. Find only your titles and all the rest of the information. I will show you how to find it on the internet, do copy paste. So you don't have to write all the descriptions by hand, yeah? We'll just copy paste them. The only thing I want you to do now with the paper is to find the titles, what books you are going to use, write them down, and this is what you need to do at the moment. Okay, back to HTML. So we closed this section that is the landing, and it has a unique ID that we can't repeat. Let's go hit a couple of enters and we do another section with ID. I will name it books/section and let's close it. So inside here we start with an H2 close and we write books. So underneath we will do just a div that is gonna be the individual book. This div we are going to repeat it again and again and again because we'll put all the CSS on one of them. You will not have to write them 5 times. So now we don't want something that is an ID that we can put only once. Want something else, and we haven't used this before, that we can use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times again and again and again. So this is called class. So we do class and we give it a name. We're gonna give the name book. So this one describes one book. This is books section, it makes sense that it's for the whole section. So here we'll do the one book. It's a div with a class name of book. And then later on, whatever we put inside here, we'll just copy paste, and all the divs are going to be class book. So we do it once on CSS and it applies on all 5 of them. Let's see it in action. So we start with an image. Let's open Google and click images. Once you find the image you like, just click on it and then right click here and go save image as. We find our folder, we'll go inside and we just save it there. Now let's put it inside the div. We go img and we press tab. Let's start with the source dot slash and we'll have the image right here. The Odyssey is mine, and alternative text we can put cover of the book Odyssey. Then we said we'll have a title. We use this 2 over there for the title of the books, so we can use another title here. It's 3. Our title is gonna be 5 the Odyssey. It's a countdown and we start with the last one, so 5 the Odyssey, and we see that the closing parenthesis is red. So we go and Google HTML entities closing parenthesis and we see that the code is this one. Let's copy it and replace it here, save. We see down there looks good, the photo looks huge, but we're gonna fix it soon. After that we have a subtitle. We can go H4 and we add the name of the author. After that we have to write a short description. Let's use a P and let's go inside and give it another class with name description. So we can go on Wikipedia and just copy the first paragraph here, Control C, and because it has up here some buttons and stuff like that that we don't really need, we can open a text editor like Microsoft Word, and if you right click in here you can go paste text only. This way it will remove all the links and you can just grab and delete what you don't really need if you see something weird. And we're good to go, I guess. Control C and we'll go inside the HTML and we just paste it here. This is probably too long. I will go on and delete a couple of paragraphs to make it a bit shorter. So under the short description, we see here that we have a couple of tags. It's just some simple words that they are in line, which means that we will probably make them display flex and they have some background and stuff like that. So let's go on and make a div. So we'll go on and we make the div and we'll give it a special class name of tags, and let's write a couple of words inside. For me, one is poetry, epic, mythical, and allegory. Let's save at this point and see what we've done. These paragraphs that we can't see, they are there, but they are white because we had white here. Let's see how we can fix that. Let's go back to CSS, and in here we said all the paragraphs are going to be white and 1.5 rem. How can we tell to the code to apply this only on the paragraphs inside the landing? We can write here, we have ID landing. We'll go in front of the P, and IDs we target with a number sign and we write landing space P. This way we tell it that apply this code only on the paragraphs that are children of the landing. Save, let's go back, and now all the paragraphs down there look black. Let's add some more CSS to bring this closer to that. Here I can see that H2 is very similar with H1, so we can just go on the CSS, go to H1, and if we want to add another one to have the same styling exactly, we can go H1, comma, space, H2 and save. So this way we don't have to repeat all this code. We tell it H1 and H2, they both are gonna have the same things inside. Nice. Then let's go to this image right here, and of course we don't want to target all the images of the whole site, so we'll say target the image that is the child of the parent div with a class name book. So how we target class names, we put dot and the name, dot book space img. Let's give it a height of 200 pixels and we see that it's distorted. Of course we don't want any photo to be distorted. We can give it width auto. Boom, it just fixed the ratio to be automatically the same as it was the original image. And we want all these things to come right next to the image. One option would be to use one div on the image and all the rest on another div, and then have a parent div, assign on the parent div the display flex, but we said it's too many divs and too much code writing. We have another simplest way. We can tell to the image float on the left. Let's try that. Float left, save. And this way we have all the text running right next to the image, but they go all the way until the end of the page. We have this parent div book. Let's give it some CSS to make it a bit shorter and stop here, and to give it the background white. So let's go up here. We said we want to target the parent div with class book. We say dot book, and let's go background color white. We can give it a maximum width, max dash width of 550 pixels. Let's see. Okay, this is getting closer. Of course, we have to do some adjustments, but if we see on the example, let me close these things, it has also some shadow around it. Let's try to apply that too. We go box shadow. Let's give it some margin so we see what's going on all around it as well. Margin 30 pixels. All right. I'm gonna assign some numbers here so we can start watching the shadow, how it goes. So I gave the box shadow some values here. They might look complicated now, but I will explain everything right now. And I put a save so we can see what's going on. So the first number is how the shadow is gonna be moved to the right or to the left. Now we see that the shadow is 10 pixels to the right, for instance. If I make it 0 and save, we see that the shadow is centered. The next number is how the shadow is gonna be moving up and down. Right now we have it 10 pixels down. If I put -10 and save, it's gonna be 10 pixels up. Right now we're gonna set it on just 2 pixels down, so 2. The next one is how blurry is the shadow towards the edge, because if you see it gradually goes from dark to light here. If I put it 0 and save, you're gonna see that the shadow is just a box of color. So this is the blurriness over the edge. We're gonna set it on 3 pixels. And the last one is how much larger is the shadow gonna be than our subject, because if I put on 0, the shadow is gonna be exactly the same size as our parent div. So we keep it on 0. Then what is RGBA? We said what is RGB. It's the red, green, and blue, and we put the values here 0, 0, 0. This gives the color black, pure black, and the A is the opacity, so it's the alpha we call it, and we give it 0.1 to have a very discrete opacity. Save. Nice. I see here that I made a small mistake. All the tags are outside the div book and we want them to get inside. Let's cut them and go under the P and paste them here and save. Now they're included to this box. Let's see why we have all this space right here. And also we need some white over there. Let's go to the image and give it a universal margin of 20 pixels. All right, let's go inspect. Let's grab this tool right here. And we see right there in the corner, we have on the photo some padding right specifically. It's 80 pixels. Let's give it padding 0 pixels, save, and way better. So now let's target the title, the H3. We'll give it font size 1.5 rem. And I see that it's pushing the subtitle too far away. Let's give it also margin 0. And go also on the H4 and give it a color of gray. Let's try margin 0 here as well. Looks better. So here the title is touching the top. What we could do is to go on and give like padding top 20 pixels, similar as the photo, and then push the subtitle a little bit on the bottom. So we give it again padding bottom, just 5 pixels. So this looks absolutely perfect to me. The only thing is that we used right now 2 lines of code just for padding. There's another way to do this. Let's delete that. We can say padding and give 4 values here. The first one is gonna be the top, so we said 20 pixels top. Then we go clockwise, so right 0 pixels, down 5 pixels, and left 0 pixels, and we'll have the same result but with only 1 line of code. Let's go on the description text now, and that's a paragraph with class description. We can copy this one and go dot and paste, open brackets. We'll put font size 0.9 rem and font weight 500, save. Next things next, we'll have a parent div with a class name of tags, and inside we'll have some elements. So by targeting the parent div, we're gonna give it display flex so they come all in the same line. Let's try it. Dot tags, display flex. Very nice. But we see that they are clanced together, one next to another. Let's go on Google again and we write display flex. And right here we can see some examples that we can give to anything that is display flex. Let's go here that says justify content. Right now we are flex start, that they are all clamped together in the front. Flex end, they go on the right side towards the end of the line. Center, they stay together in the center. And space between, they put some space between them that looks like this is what we want. So we'll just write on the parent container justify content space between, and this is what we need to have. So we'll go justify content space between. Very nice. Let's go on and make them a bit smaller. Font size 0.7 rem, font weight 500. Let's give them a gray color. We'll use RGB and let's set all the colors on 100. And we see on the draft that they have also a background color of lighter gray. If we put it right here, background color light gray, we see that the whole line has this thing. It's not what we need. Let's delete it. And we'll try to put only on the paragraphs that are children of the parent class tags. Now we'll go dot tags space P and background color light gray. This looks super small, so we'll give it some padding of 10 pixels. The only thing I see is that they touch towards the end of the white. So we'll go back on the book section. We'll give it some padding right of 25 pixels. Can even try 20. So now that we have all the CSS for the book ready, what we have to do next is grab this one from the bottom. Make sure that you go all the way back here and press Ctrl Z to copy it. Hit a couple of enters and we paste it 4 more times if you use the top 5 or another 9 times if you use the top 10. So we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4. And what we actually have to do is go inside here. Let's press a couple of enters here as well so we don't get confused. So this is the book number 5 and we'll go all the way down to 1. So here it's 4, 3, 2 and 1. And now we'll have to go one by one and change all the titles, all the descriptions, and all the tags. So this is a good practice for you because if you work in a company or if you actually build a project, a website, you will have to every now and then go inside and start changing stuff, altering stuff. Also, you will have to do that if you buy a template at some point and you want to update it with your information. So this is a very good practice to go inside and start changing everything without making any mistakes and without breaking up the code. So let's see on the second one how to do it. My second book is The Giving Tree, so I go on and change the title, The Giving Tree. I can copy this and change it here, cover of the book, The Giving Tree, and then we'll go again and download the photo, googling the image. I'll grab this one. Don't forget to change the title here. Save. We go on and change the link. If you delete all the way up here until the slash, The Giving Tree, we found it. Let's go on Wikipedia. I find the name of the author. We'll paste it on H4. Perfect. And let's grab the first paragraph and just paste it here. What's left is to change the tags. I will write picture book, children's literature, and fiction. And for this book, I don't want to use a fourth one, so I will just delete the fourth one. Let's save. So boom, we have all the changes here. At this moment, I see that the body of the text is too bold right here. So I want to do a little hack and show you as well. So right here where we linked the fonts, we see that Roboto, we downloaded the 100 and the 500. So we can go on here, put this sign and write also 300. Save it. So right now it's gonna download it with 3 different font weights. I will go on to styles. We find the description and the font weight. We're gonna change it to 300. Let's press save. Amazing. So now we are absolutely ready. So you can pause the video and do all the changes to the rest of your tabs. As you see, when we put 3, they automatically arranged properly. And if you do 4 or whatever, or 2 or 5, they're gonna be set automatically. So everything is functional at the moment, and we'll come back to just arrange some more stuff. So I have mine already and updated. I want to show you a couple of things. Let's go on my last one, and we're going to try a couple of text elements to see how we can morph this little paragraph right there. So the Lord of the Rings, let's put it in M's. M represents emphasis, and we see that it made it italics. We already talked a little bit about strong. Let's put the epic inside. And this one is going to make them bold. Let's see the U, and let's put Tolkien inside. This is gonna underline it. We already morphed the span. We can put inside the year of writing, and we see it gets what we gave to the span, bold and this blue color. So I suggest that once more you pause the video and you go inside all your description and you try to play around with these things. So the next thing we have to do is take all these book divs and make them show up on 2 rows like that. Of course, if you have 10 books, they're gonna look way better because it's gonna be 5 and 5 on each column. And let's see how we can do this. One thing we have to start with is to grab the parent div, and let's see which one is that. So the parent div is the section ID books section, but inside it has the H2 as well, and we want to grab everything except of the H2. Let's grab the H2, cut it and paste it outside of the parent div. So now we have one section that is the container for all the books. Let me bring CSS on the right. So now we'll grab the parent div, which is the section with ID books section. Let's come here, press the number sign, and this time we're gonna try something else. We're gonna give it a display grid. We'll have the parent element right here, and we're gonna make a grid. For instance, just like that, we'll spread it in columns and rows, and we'll tell it how many columns and how many rows we want. Right now, the important thing is the columns, that I want 2 of them, and I want them exactly the same size. So we'll go on and write grid template columns, and inside we're gonna give it values, but because we don't want to give it in pixels, because we don't know if people open it on a laptop or a huge screen or a cell phone, we're gonna give fractions. So we're gonna say 1 fraction and 1 fraction. This means 2 equal columns. So just make sure that both HTML documents and CSS are saved. Let's go back here. Everything looks very nice except of one thing, which is the borders on the left and the right. If we check our draft, we will see that we have some extra space over here as well. So let's go do that. We'll target the main. Let's go beyond the body and write main and give it some padding. If we put 2 prices, the first one's gonna be up and down, 0 pixels, and the next one's gonna be right and left. Let's give it 80 pixels. Save. We see that this photo has also a margin on the left, but as we see on the draft, the photo is supposed to be touching the edges. So let's target the photo. So it's supposed to be this photo right here that's just IMG. Let's correct it and give it the number sign and landing. So we only target the photo inside the parent section landing, and we'll give it margin left minus 80 pixels. Let's press save. Very nice. And what's left to do is to correct this gray area right here. So on the right side, we see that the text is almost touching, and we also need another 80 pixels. Let's try giving it padding right, 80 pixels. Save, better. And now let's try to give it width 100%, and great. This is the result that we actually needed, and we can move to the next one. So next one we have workout songs. You can just put your top songs, it's okay, it's the same. Boom, boom, boom. We'll do it like that. We'll grab an H2 under this section. H2 workout songs. And then we'll have a section with idea of song section. So inside this red box, which is the song sections we just created, we'll have one div that's gonna be the individual song. If you noticed up there, if you wanna have a unified look, you have to have photos that all of them are portrait, meaning vertical. Here we will try to find square photos, so we'll have a unified look here as well. And we start from the 5 and we will end up to 1. So let's try to build that on HTML. So we start with a div. It's gonna have a class name of song. Inside we have something weird that we start with a number. Let's put on its own div. Inside we'll have a P that says the number 5. And let's give it a class name as well so we can target it individually. Class name num for number. Right under that we'll have the image. Let's go Google it. My 5th song is Fortunate Son, so I go to images and I try to find a square image. I think this is a proper one. Right click, save as. You can rename it if it has a weird name. Save. So right here we write img and tab dot slash. Right here it's my photo, alternative text. We can write the cover of the song Fortunate Son. Then we need a title. It looks pretty similar to the H3 we used over there. So we'll go H3 and we just put the title of the song inside, and then H4 and we put the name of the band. And then we are missing just 2 buttons, one that's going to be taking us on YouTube and the other one on Spotify. Let's go to the files we've downloaded and let's grab all of those, Control C to copy them. If we go on top of this folder, right click and reveal in File Explorer. Let's go inside. And we'll create one folder that's called img for images, and let's paste them all in here so we'll have everything we need. And we're gonna be using the YouTube button and the Spotify button at this moment. Let's create one div with a class name of click away, because when you click these buttons you're gonna be going away from the site and to another site. I can show you a small tip right now. If you press dot and the class name click dash away and you hit tab, it's gonna create a div with this class name, so you don't have to write a lot of code. So I haven't said how we create buttons. We just write A and we press tab, and this is a link that you put something inside. Inside it can be text, but for us now it's going to be an image, and it's here that says href. You put the link that you want this button to take you. Let's copy this title and go on YouTube to find the link. So I have this one that is the song I'm looking for. If I go on share and just copy this link over here, I will paste it inside the href and it's going to take me to this YouTube video, and in here I'm going to put an image. If I write right now YouTube as a text and press save, we see down there that we have a button that we can push, and if I click it, it just takes me over this. So that would be one way to do it if you want to put text inside, but right now instead of text we want to put an image. So we go between the opening and closing A tabs. So instead we write img tab, and in here we have the source. We go dot slash and we'll go inside the img folder and we'll go to the YouTube button. Alternative text, we can write here this song on YouTube, and then underneath we need another button as well. So again we press A, tab, href is gonna be on Spotify, and we can click right here next to our song on the 3 dots, share, copy song link. We just paste it in here on the href, and then between the A tags we'll go img again, tab dot slash, inside the image folders we go on Spotify button, alternative text. You can hear this song on Spotify. Looks great and not so great at the same time. Let's go do some CSS to turn all this mess into that. So I'll take style here, right click up there, split right. Let's grab this div and give it a white background. So we'll go dot song, background color white. Box shadow, we can just copy this one we gave on the books, just control set the whole thing and apply it here as well. So we are done with that. Let's give it some width now that we are here. We don't want it to go from all the way left to all the way right. So width, let's give it 530 pixels. Then we'll target this image to make it smaller, and we'll go dot song img, width 100 pixels and height 100 pixels, because we said these photos are square as well. So this applied to all the images, even the buttons down there. So we see that these photos are inside the div click away right there. So we'll go dot click dash away space img, and we'll give them width 30 pixels and height 30 pixels. This looks better. However, we'll have to find out how to take the 5 and put it outside. We see actually that these titles are one on top of each other, but other than that all the items are right next to each other. So let's try to do that. Let's take these 2 titles, give them one tab and put them inside a div with a class name of song title. So we'll go dot song dash titles and we press tab, and we take the closing tab, cut, control X, and right after here we'll go one back and we'll paste it there. So this div includes only these 2 titles. So we'll have a parent div, the song, that includes the number 5, the image, the 2 titles, and then these buttons. Let's go target song, it's right here, and give it display flex. And this is what we got. It looks promising. We need some more styling. Let's start by taking the 5 outside of this box. Let's target the div with a class name of num. So go dot num. Let's increase the font size first of all. Font size 1.5 rem. Font weight, let's give it 500. Save. So it looks bigger. How are we gonna take it outside of all this area? There is a small hack we can do as always. We'll say margin left minus 70 pixels. Now it is outside, however the box is right next to it. So let's push the box on the right side. We go margin right 60 pixels. Save. Looks way better, but we are missing a circle and a white background and the shadow as we see right there. So let's go background color white. Let's steal all the box shadow values from there, Control C, and paste them here, Control V. So we have a square right now and it's very thin, right around the 5. Let's give it padding 15 pixels. Okay, so we see that this is very tall. We want to be kind of square, so then we can turn it into a circle easily. So let's go and give it height 10 pixels. Save. That's better. And we see that this P has margin top 24 and bottom 24. So we'll go on the P that is inside the num. We'll go dot num space P margin 0 pixels. Save. So now it came inside, but it's right in the bottom. Let's give it some minus number. So let's go margin top minus 8 pixels. Save. Boom. Very nice. All we need to do right now is put some rounded corners over here to turn this into a circle. And also we see that in here this has round corners too. We haven't seen this before. It's the first time we're gonna do it. So we'll grab dot song and we'll go border radius 15 pixels. Save. And we do see that right here it gave a little bit of a curve, and we'll go do it here. And because this is a square, if we round all the corners long enough, it's gonna turn it into a circle. Let's go on dot num right there and give it again border radius. Let's give it a big number like 50 pixels, and we'll make sure that this way it's going to be turned into a circle, and boom, it is. So all of those are clanging together, but here we have some better spacing. Let's try for that. First of all, we see that this photo is touching the edges. We need some more air for it to breathe. So let's go on dot song and give it some top and bottom padding. So we'll go padding, top and bottom is the first one. If we put just 2 numbers, and the second one is right and left, we don't wanna mess with that. We put 20 and 0. Then we need this title to get some space from the photo. So we can easily go just target the photo and give it some margin right. So it's gonna be pushing these titles on the right a little bit. So the photo is right here, margin right 25 pixels. Nice. This photo has a white background so we can't see properly, but all the other photos have rounded corners as well. So we'll go border radius 8 pixels. So one thing we see right here is that these two are right next to the photo, and then these two buttons start right after the titles end. But on the example we see that these two stay on the right side all the time. How can we do this? We can just Google display flex and go right here. On the right side we see what we can put on the individual items, and there is a value that's called flex grow, and what this does is that we can make one of the boxes grow and occupy all of the space that it can occupy. And we're gonna give just that to the titles, so the title is gonna be growing as long as it can. So this way it's gonna be pushing always these two buttons on the right side. So we set here song titles that have all the titles, and we go dot song dash titles flex grow. We just put 1. If you put 1, it means that flex grow is activated, and it did push them on the right. The other thing is that these two buttons are actually on the bottom, but right here we see them on the top. And if we go again on the flex box rules, we can see here on the right we have another one that says align cell, and what's on the right we just align it directly on the children, and we have self align. We'll do flex end on these two buttons so they will stay on the bottom. These two buttons are on click away. You can just copy that and go dot click away, align self, flex end. And nice. The last thing we see here is that the titles are in the top aligned with the image. So let's try to target the H3 that is inside the song titles only. So we go dot song dash titles space H3, and let's give it a padding of 0 pixels. Save. Very nice. Now the only thing we have to do here, because these buttons we want them to have some opacity before you roll over to them, and then the moment you roll over to them we want them to have their perfect color. colors. That's why they look a bit faded down here. In order to do that, right here we target click away and the images they have inside. So it's these two images that we actually need, and we'll give them an opacity of 0.6. Let's save this. Now they do look faded, but the moment we hover over them with the mouse, I want them to get normal colors, brighter colors, so we see that it's actually a button visually. We'll do another thing that we haven't showed before. We go right here, we'll target the same thing as up there, but before we open the brackets, we're gonna put two semicolons and we'll say hover, and this way we only say inside what to do the moment we hover the cursor on top of the images. So now we go and say opacity 1, and it's gonna give them the normal opacity. Save, and ta-da! This is amazing what we just did. So let's give some space around the whole thing. We'll go to .song and let's give it a margin of 50 pixels. Alright, now one thing I want you to check is that the moment you click on these two buttons, it takes you to a different site. And right now it's replacing our existing site with YouTube, and this is bad. When you have buttons that are click away and they take you away from your site, you want them to open a new tab. How we're gonna do that? It's pretty simple. We go right between the A and the href, we give a space and we say target, and underscore self is the automatic one that when you click, it's replacing the page. We wanna put underscore blank, and also down there the same target underscore blank, save, and this way the moment you click it's gonna be opening a new tab over there, so you can easily go back to your website. This is the correct way to do clickaways. So now if you guess correctly, the only thing we are left to do is to be really careful to copy just this one, Control C, paste it 4 more times, 1, 2, 3, 4, and do all the updates. We started from 5, we do 4, 3, 2, and 1. So what is left for you to do is update all the cover images for every song, all the titles, all the subtitles, the YouTube links, and the Spotify links. And after that, come back to the video. Alright, so hopefully you have everything ready. Like we see here, everything is updated, all the titles, the subtitles, the buttons, and the photos. So what's left is to split them in two. On the books we saw how to do it with display grid, so now we'll try to do it with another method, display flex. So we'll try the external div, which is the songs section. Let's go up here, number sign, song section. Let's give it display flex, save. And now all of them came in one row like that, and the whole site is scrolling, which is very bad because it creates all this white space over here as well. We don't like it. Let's see how we can fix that. Let's go again to Google Display Flex in order to see our options, and we'll have right here flex direction, automatically is raw. We can try now column, flex direction, column, save. So again they became a column like they were in the beginning. We'll do flex wrap, so our columns are gonna be wrapping and they're not gonna be just a straight line. Let's try that, flex wrap, wrap, save. We see they're still in a straight line because nothing is forcing them to go on the other side. So if we limit the height, we'll force some of them on the next column. Let's try that, max height 800 pixels, save. And finally we managed to see some of them on the other side. If we want them to go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 instead of column, because now we have them column and they are 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, we can delete this line and save. So now they are 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So now what annoys me a little bit is that we have a lot of space on the right and not much on the left. Let's give some padding left in here. Padding left 80 pixels, save. And just to be sure that they are centered, we can add align items, center, and save. Okay. Next we go to the series and we'll have some horizontal scrolling. Of course we'll have an H2 with a title, and then we will have a basic container that's going to be the section, and inside we will start with the first one. Let's go do these things that we already know how to do. Right after the song section we start with the H2 series, and right underneath we're gonna put a section with the ID of series section. Let's close it and hit a couple of enters. In here we'll have one div with class name dot series, and we press tab and it creates the whole div for us. And right in there we start with an image Let's try to find a horizontal image this time. I start with Squid Game. Let's go to images, and we said we need a horizontal one, so I will pick this one. Right click, save as. Let's rename it and save. So back there we go img and tab. Source we press // and Squid Game JPEG. On alternative text we can write the cover of Squid Game series, and then let's create a div that's gonna hold all the other titles, subtitles, and short description. I'm gonna give a class name here of series text and tab, and in there we're gonna have a title. Let's put H3 Squid Game. Underneath a subtitle, let's go H4. I'm gonna write how many seasons they have. Right now Squid Game has 1, so I go 1 season, and underneath I will put 1p with a class name of description. And now let's Google Squid Game short description, and I'm gonna copy this whole paragraph, Ctrl+C, and paste it right in here, Ctrl+V, and save. Of course the photo is huge as always. Let's go and make it shorter. Let's grab the series, series, and we'll give it a fixed width of 300 pixels. Background color of white, so we see how it looks. So we see the photo doesn't obey these directions, but the text does. So let's target the photo now. We want to get only the images that are inside the series, so we'll go .series space img, and let's give it a width of 100%, and let's see if the photo will obey now this rule we have up there. Very nice, but this photo is too tall compared to the ones we have here, that all of them are a bit shorter. And let's see how we can do that without cropping the image, only from CSS. We haven't seen this one before. What we're gonna do is the width, we have it 100%, and it takes from the parent container the 300 pixels. We're gonna set the height on 170 pixels. Save. And now our photo is distorted. And we said earlier we never want to distort any photos. So let's see how we can keep this size without distorting it. What we want to do is object fit, and we have some options here. We'll do cover and press save, and this way we see that our photo is automatically cropping up and down, no longer squashed. And let's see this in action if we make a smaller height, like 100 pixels only, and press save. So our photo is cropped now. And if I delete the object fit cover and save, now our photo is squashed again, and it looks very bad and pixelated. So we bring it back and we change the height to 170 and save again, and now we can see that everything works very nicely. I want you to try to pause the video and try to change only the H3 here and leave all the other H3s black. Try that and come back for the solution. So this is very simple. We will only target the H3 that are inside this div, series text. That's why we named it. We'll copy it. We'll go .series text space H3, and we'll open brackets here. So we'll give it now a color, and let's find the span. It's right here. We copy this hex code and we'll go back and apply it here. Save. And as we see, this one has exactly the color we wanted, and the other ones remain black. Let's try to center all this text as well. Now we target just .series text, text align, center, save. Awesome. So here we see something weird. So the container has curved corners and a shadow. Let's go apply those. Of course, the shadow values, we can just copy it from up there, and we apply it right here. And also we go on and give border radius 20 pixels. Save. So the top corners are not showing because on top of it we have the photo, and also we need some margin right here around the text. However, this is a bit tricky because we see the photo we can't have with margin, so maybe we can apply around the text. So here we can put some padding on the text, but we don't want to change the top one because it looks alright. We'll give only right, bottom and left. Let's go try that. So we'll go in here and we'll go padding top 0 pixels, and all the other ones right, bottom and left, we set them on 20 pixels each. Save, and this looks good. And now it's time to deal with the corners of the photo, because what's weird here is that we see only the top ones are curved and the bottom ones are not. If we go on the photo and give border radius 20 pixels and save it, we see that all the corners are curved, the top ones and the bottom ones, but the bottom ones we want them straight. And of course we go in here and we can assign 4 numbers like we just did on the padding. So we can put here, the first one is going to be the top left 20 pixels, and then we'll go clockwise 20 pixels top right, then bottom right 0 pixels and bottom left 0 pixels. Let's put a save, and perfect, just what we wanted. So at this time I bet all of you know what we have to do. Let's press 1 enter here. We'll grab the first series all the way back there, Control Z to copy it, and we paste it 4 more times. 1, 2, 3, 4, and you have to pause the video of course and go on and update all the photos, all the titles, the subtitles and the short descriptions. Alright, hopefully you are back with all of them updated and having 0 problems. However, you remember when we cropped the photo, we can see that here it's cropping the logo because the logo was on the top. How can we align the photo to crop from the top? Let's go and try it. We go here, series images, we put object position top. Save, and now we see that this one looks great. However, that one is positioning from the top, so it's cropping this logo. So how can we fix that? You have any ideas? How can we only affect this photo right here and not any of the rest? Because before, if we take this one and we do cut, Control X and save, all the rest ones were okay except of this one. You can pause the video here and think about it, and I'm gonna give you the solution right now. We can go on the specific one. We can go on the classes right here on the main div that we named series. If we give it space, we can write top and give it a second name. So only the one photo with a second name is gonna be affected of what we're gonna write. So we go under here and press dot top space img, and we just paste here the object position top. If we just save both of those now and we go back, we see that only this photo is aligned top and all the rest of them are as they used to be. Next, of course, we have to put all these things one next to another, and this is pretty simple. Let's target the container, which is the series section. Because it's an ID, we put the number sign and series section, and right now we're gonna try display grid. I'm gonna try something new, grid auto flow, and inside we're gonna write column. Let's save this one, and we see that we have all of them one next to each other. Let's give them some gap because now they are all touching each other. Gap 50 pixels, save, better. But again, this slider down there is affecting the whole page. We write overflow X right there, auto. Let's press save. So now if you see, boom, we already have it contained. This scroll bar down here is not up there. It doesn't affect the whole site. It's only affecting specifically this section. Let's give it some space a little bit, push it a little bit down. We'll go on the series and give it a margin bottom 15 pixels, save. Okay, now we can even see the shadow down there. Let's copy it and also give it up there. So now we can see better this scroll bar. First of all, let's move this one a little bit on the right. Margin left, 80 pixels, save. Alright, because we cut this one a little bit, and this way we can make sure that the people know it's a scrolling bar. One small problem that it makes it look a little bit old is that it doesn't snap. We want usually when you move it to snap either here or there or somewhere to make it feel a little bit more user friendly. In order to do that, we have to target the individual boxes. So we'll go here and we'll write scroll snap align start save, but right now it's not really going to work because we have to add one more rule on the parent container right here, which is over scroll behavior inline down there, and we write inside contain, and underneath scroll snap type right there, inline mandatory, save. And now if you try to scroll in between, it doesn't allow you, it snaps to the closer one. Let's add some more of those. I will grab the first two divs, 1, 2, Control Z, and let's put them towards the end and save. So we can see clearly what's going on. Now everything is snapping and it looks a little bit more modern. There is a way to use your mouse and scroll them like that by drag and dropping, and this requires some JavaScript. So it's too complicated for us now. So we're gonna stop right here and be happy with this scroll bar that we have like that. That works perfectly on phones as well, but the other one is more 2024 style. So by seeing the next chapter that we're gonna build, you might think, okay, we already know how to do all these things. However, it's a bit more complicated than you might think, because here each color on the description is different for each movie. And also we have something special, that we have a button that the moment you roll over it, some special text appears magically underneath. And stay tuned, because we're gonna do all this weird stuff that we haven't done before. So how we're gonna structure all this in HTML? Of course, we'll start with h2, the title of movies. Then we'll have one parent container that is going to be the section of movies. Right after that, we're gonna have a movie div that's gonna contain one movie. Inside, we see that we have one container like that. It's split kinda in two, and it holds one photo and then some titles, subtitles, and some generic information and a button. This one we can name it title area. That's gonna have all these things inside. And right in the end, we're gonna have one description. So now that we planned the basic structure, let's start writing some HTML. Our last section ended right here. Let's give a couple of enters and we'll go h2 movies. Then we said we'll have a section with ID of movies section. Let's close it, hit enter. Inside we said we'll have a parent div with a class name of movie. So we'll go dot movie tab ready. Then we said we'll have the title area div that contains the photo and all this information. So we'll go dot title slash area tab done. Then we need a photo. My first movie is Interstellar. So let's go on Google Images and find one and download. Of course, here, as we saw on the preview, we need something that is portrait, meaning boom, boom, boom. I think I like this one better. Let's right click it and save image as. Rename it Interstellar, save. So in here we go img tab dot slash I Interstellar. An alternative text, of course, we can write the cover of the movie Interstellar. We go right in the end, hit one enter. In this project, usually we put h3 for titles, Interstellar. This YouTube button right here, we're gonna add it in the end. So let's move to these ones. In this line, we put some information like the year of release, the rating, and the length of the movie. And then we need director and stars. So let's find these things in IMDb. So right here, we can find them. And we'll go h4, the year, 2014. Then if you want to put a big bullet, I can give you the code right here, or you can actually Google it. We put end bull and it's right here. Then I go PG13. Let's put another bullet, copy this, paste it here, space 2 hours and 49 minutes. So after that we have a subtitle again, which is the director and the stars, and we know that these ones are in span because they are blue. So let's go h4 again. Let's open a span. Inside we put director, and outside the span but inside the h4 we're gonna add the Christopher Nolan. I'm gonna show you another trick. If you press Alt and Shift, hold it down, and then you press down, you make a copy of this line right below. So in here we can just change, instead of director we put stars, and we're gonna copy all this, paste it here and just fix it a little bit. And let's copy the bullets again and put them between the names. Amazing. So we're done with this div, and what's left is to make the description. So we'll go dot description tab. Inside we're just gonna have a normal P. And we can Google Interstellar short description and just copy all this text and put in there. Nice, that was fast. So we already know that our image is gonna be huge. Let's give some values to make this box a bit smaller already. So we'll target in the beginning dot movie, give it a width of 430 pixels, background color white. We'll copy the box shadow from up there again, Control C, and just put it here to have it ready. And let's also give it border radius of 20 pixels, as we did to most of the backgrounds up there. Then we'll grab the image of the title area. So we'll go dot title slash area space img brackets. we'll give it a height of 200 pixels. Make sure that you save both of the documents because we altered HTML and CSS. So we save both of them, and let's see what we've done for now. All right, we have this one. We already know that we can do on the photo float left. So let's try that. Float left, save. And now we see something here that all the titles are good, but also the description is floating. And here we see that the description falls down of the image. We don't want it next to the image. So how can we tell to the image to stop floating when the description starts? We haven't discussed any of this. So that's why we do all these different examples. So we have an excuse to see all these things, how we do them. We go on the item that we don't want it to be affected by the float, which is the description right here. And because we used another class as description up there, and we don't want to affect that one on the books, what we have to do now to be specific is to say, go to the class movie.movie space dot description. So we now only target the descriptions that are children of the div movie. We open the brackets here and we say clear. Here you can say clear left, clear right, but we usually put clear both just to be sure and save. And this way we say to the description, don't be affected by floating items like images or whatever, and just be yourself. So it's like we put a stop on the float on the description. One thing we see is that the corners are rounded all over except of this image that breaks the pattern. So here I want you to think how you can only curve the top left of the image. You can pause the video and do it. You already know it, and I'm gonna show you right now. Over here that we target the image, we go border radius and we put 4 values. The top left is the first one, 20 pixels, and all the rest of them are gonna be 0, 0, 0. Save. Boom. Perfect. I'm gonna give it some margin to push all of them a little bit to the right. Margin right, 15 pixels. We'll target the H3, but only the ones that are inside the title area. Dot title area space H3, and we'll give it a padding top of 20 pixels. And let's also target the H4s. Dot title slash area space H4. Let's give them some padding, top and bottom 8 pixels, right and left 0 pixels. So these ones look too bold from the H4, it's probably the preset for H4. Let's find out what font weight the span has. We can go up here, press Ctrl F and write span. So it shows us that the span has a font weight of 500. Let's copy that. I will go back on H4. I will just paste it, font weight 500, save. And now they look way closer to a draft. So let's go on the description. We need some white space all around and make the font white because we're gonna give it some background color. And as we said here, each one of them is gonna have a different background color. So how to do that? We'll go here that we say description as a class name, and we'll give it another one that's gonna be defined by the color of the background. This one, let's name it blue. So we'll go down there and we'll press dot blue background color. I'm gonna give it some values here, but feel free to improvise and put what shade of blue you like. So I'll go RGB, open parentheses, 119, 181, 202, save. Don't forget to save HTML as well. And going back, we see the blue background. So now we go back to the generic description back here, and we give all of them padding 20 pixels. Color of the text white, so we'll go color white. Let's see what we've done. Okay, we see down there that it's square, the bottom 2 corners, and we want to fix that. Border radius 0 pixels top left, 0 pixels top right, 20 pixels bottom right, 20 pixels bottom left. Save. Very nice. Let's go on and put this YouTube button now. We see that it's next to the title. Let's go on HTML and put it right underneath this title over there. So we'll go Interstellar, it says 3. We press enter and we need an A tab. Inside the href we have to put the link for the Interstellar YouTube trailer. So we'll go right here, just click on it and we'll go share, and we'll just copy this link over here and close this thing, and we'll paste inside the href with the brackets here. We said that if it's click away, we go right here between the A and the href and we'll go target blank. Nice. And inside the A, we need the image. That's gonna be the clickable YouTube button. So we'll go IMG tab, source, we press dot slash, and we'll go inside the IMG, and we'll go YouTube button. Alternative text, we can write watch the trailer on YouTube. And let's also give this a class name of trailer. So it's gonna be easier for us to target it in CSS. So right here we go dot trailer IMG. We know the image is gonna be huge, so let's limit it right now. Height 30 pixels. Save. Of course, don't forget to save the HTML again. And boom, we have this button here. If we zoom in, we can notice that it's giving it this border radius and we don't have a pure circle. So let's go on back here and write border radius 0 pixels, save, and it's back to the circle again. Very nice. And the thing is that we want to move it over there. How we're gonna do that? We can target the A trailer. Let's go up here, dot trailer, and give it position absolute, save. And now we see that it came in front of these titles and it's hiding them, it's covering them. If we go to the parent container, the movie.movie up here, and we give position relative right here, now we can give some numbers down there and they're gonna be relative to this container, movie. So let's try to see how it works. We can go top 0 pixels, save. So now, because we put relative on the outer container on the parent div and we put top 0 pixels, it's touching up there. If we go on and add also left 0 pixels, save, top and left 0 pixels, it came to this corner. If we put right here, save, top 0 pixels, right 0 pixels, it came over there. So we can control exactly the position we want according to this parent div. I'm gonna put top 20 pixels, right 10 pixels, let's save it. Very nice. So now it came to the spot we really need it to be, and this is a very nice way that you can ignore all the structure of inside and you can position something where you need it related to the parent div. It's super helpful and super easy way to do it. You just have to remember that when you use position absolute on the specific item, you have to also go to the parent div and say that this is gonna be the relative parent div to the number we give down there. Of course, what else we want to do is give it some transparency like we did on these ones up there. So let's try to remember how to do that. Let's go on the image. We can go just right here and give it opacity 0.5, save. And now it has half the opacity. And of course, on the hover, we go dot trailer, semicolons, hover. We open brackets, opacity 1, save. This is awesome, and when we click it, of course it appears on a new tab. Let's close it. Now of course we have to add this extra text only on the hover. So first of all, let's go here and add the text. We go inside the A, and right after the image, when the image is done, we hit one enter, and we're gonna open a div now with a class name of trailer subtitle. So let's go dot trailer slash sub tab, awesome, and inside we just write watch trailer, save, and let's go on CSS and target it dot trailer dash sub, open brackets. So we see that it's next to the image and it's divided in 2 lines. Let's put it down there. We do this by giving it, of course, position absolute. Let's give it a width of 100 pixels. So it's gonna stretch in 1 line. All right, and now it's like that. Let's center it, text align, center, and we'll have it on position absolute. Let's give it some numbers now. Top 40 pixels. We gave the other one 20 pixels. So this one is gonna be a bit lower than that, hopefully. Very nice. And we just wanna put a little bit on the left. We'll go right, minus 30 pixels. Save. And now it looks a bit better. Maybe we can go minus 20, save. Yeah, I think it's better now. So next, let's give it some background color. We'll go RGB 255, 255, 0, save. So one thing we need to do here is to give it some padding, and I'm gonna give it some opacity just on the background. So I'll go here RGBA, and we will add with a comma the alpha price, which is gonna be 0.5. So we'll give it 50% opacity. Let's also give it some padding, top and bottom 8 pixels, right and left 14 pixels, save. So this looks better. Let's give it also some border radius of 10 pixels, and this looks nice. Let's also give some font weight 500, save. So we just want it to be invisible before we hover over this image, and there's an easy way to do it. We just go right here and we'll go opacity 0, save. And of course now it has 0 opacity everywhere. So we just copy all this dot trailer sub and we'll go down there, dot trailer sub and hover. And right here on the hover, we just give it opacity 1, save. Now when you hover over it, it appears, but when you hover over the button, it doesn't appear. So what we have to do here, it's a bit different than that. We'll go dot trailer semicolons hover, which is actually the A with the image up there, and then we'll go space dot trailer dash sub opacity 1. So when we hover on the trailer, that's the image up there, it gives opacity 1 to the trailer sub. Let's save it and see, and now it works properly. But again, the thing is that when we hover over this area, it appears again, and we don't want that. We want it only to appear when we hover on the image. So we'll go back here and we'll say pointer / events none. So this line means when the mouse is doing anything, either is hovering or is clicking over this thing, you don't do anything. Save. And finally, boom, we have it appearing. Now it's a bit robotic that it just appears. We can make it a little bit more nicer. So it's not gonna be robotic anymore, and it's gonna be a little bit more modern by giving it some fading in. This is called transition. So we press transition and we say opacity 0.5 S. This means for half a second you're gonna fade it in and fade it out. Let's save this. And now it's not that crazy, but if you notice, it's just appearing and disappearing a bit smoother than before. That was like boom, boom. Let me see something. Yeah, let's just make these letters a bit bolder so they're gonna be reading easily. This was the description, and we'll go font weight 500, save. So now we are pretty much ready to go on and be very careful what we grab. Let's give one enter here and one enter there. So now let's grab all the movie, be very careful, Control C, and we'll go down there and we'll paste it 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now it's the time that you have to pause the video and go on and change all the photos, all the titles, all the links from the YouTube, and all the information we have down there for each one of these divs. So hopefully you have them ready, just like I have mine right here. Let's arrange them super fast. We'll go right here, we'll grab the movie section. Let's copy it and let's go here, we'll put the number sign and paste, and we'll say display, flex, save. And they are one next to each other, all crushed together. Let's do flex wrap and give it wrap, save, nice. Still we need some space around them. Let's go and give them some gap of 25 pixels, save, nice. And now we see this white space that it's extending. We'll go Google Display Flex again and let's go and see the photos. Align items, right now they are stretch, they occupy the largest height they can. So we'll go flex start and we'll have them as we want them. Let's try it. Align items, flex start, save. Awesome. So now we'll go on individualize these colors back here. We'll have all of them blue. So the blue is here. Let's copy it and paste. The easy way to do it is to just hover over here and you go on and change the color. Find like 2 or 3 colors that you like. And of course go here and change the name. This is my orange. Let's put a couple of more colors here. Or you can of course go on and write here what color you want and it's gonna automatically set it. And of course up here on the description we have description space blue all over. And the only thing left to do is to go on the next ones and just put what we wrote over here. For instance, orange. Next one, instead of blue, let's put purple. Next one, gray. And because we made changes on both of them, we save, of course, both documents, HTML and CSS. Let's go back Woo! And of course, this way we managed to individualize the colors down there by giving a second class name next to the description. Let's get done with the footer pretty fast. Towards the end of the HTML, we already have it set as footer. We just go inside and we write a couple of things. Let's write the name of our site, www.mytop5.com. Next, let's put the year 2024. And in order to put the copyright, we just press end and copy right there. Ready. And then we can put our name. This is mine, and save. And of course, right now it's down here. If you can spot it, we need to adjust some CSS. We just target footer. I will go background color. You can put black. I'm gonna set some RGB numbers on 27 each because I don't want to be extra dark. Color of the text is gonna be white. Let's center them. Text align center, and let's make them a bit bold. Font weight 300 and save. Let's see what we got now. All right, we have this one here. We need to make it a bit taller. Let's give it a padding of 10 pixels. Save. That's nice. One small thing is that this is touching over here, so we'll have to go to the movie section right here. I will go margin bottom 80 pixels. Save. Awesome. So we are almost there. Of course, we are missing a very important part of the site, which is the navigation bar. Let's go on and do that right now. I will close the styles for the moment. Let's keep them over here. And we'll go on the top of HTML, and we see here we have already set a header. Let's go inside. I will start with a div with class name navigation logo. Let's put .nav/logo tab. And inside I will put an A because inside every time you click it, I want it to be like a button and take you to the start of the page. And we'll have the first section with ID landing. So instead of a link here, if I press number button and landing, every time we click the logo, it's supposed to direct us right here. Inside, of course, we'll have to put an image. Let's go on img tab /. And if we go inside the images, we'll see the top 10 and top 5. I'm gonna use the top 5 right now. An alternative text, we can write the logo of this website. We'll go under this div, and of course we're gonna have the navigation bar. We can just name it nav instead of some generic div. This way everybody will know that in here we'll have the navigation. And of course we'll start with an A because all of these things, we want them to be links that we can click them like buttons. A. So href, this one, we want it to take us on the books, but we want to see also the h2. So the best way is to go to the h2 and give it another ID of books. And we'll make sure that this one says books section and this one says books because IDs have to be unique, yeah? So they have to be different. So I will go to all the h2s and set this one done. H2 here, we can put ID songs, scrolling down, series, ID series, h2 movies, ID movies, and back to the navigation bar. The first one we said it's going to be the books, so we put href, number sign, and books. Let's hit one enter between the A here so we see clearly what's inside. And we'll start with this image right here and then we'll write books. Let's go and do that. We hit img and tab /. Inside the img folder we find the icon books right here. Alternative text, we can write book section, and under that we just put one P that says books. So now that we have this structure ready, we just highlight it and copy it and we'll paste another 3 times. So 1, 2, 3, and we do the changes inside. The first one was books. The next one is going to be songs. Let's change this one. Number sign songs. We'll have to change the path. img/icons songs. Alternative text songs section and title songs. Pretty straightforward. Next one is movies. We do exactly the same changes. Movies, movies. And you guessed it, movies. Last one is the series, icon series, alternative text series, and the title series. Of course, now we need to work on the styles. Let's right click up there in the title and split right and close that one. Of course, now it's a huge mess in here. Let's go and start fixing stuff. We saw that everything is one on top of another and the photos are huge. Let's start with a logo. We can target this div .nav/logo Let's put a height 120 pixels. And now let's go and target all of these ones inside the nav, the smaller icons. And of course, we'll go nav without a dot this time because this is not a class name. It's just the actual name of the div, space img to set up all the images in there. And we'll go height 30 pixels. Of course, we can target the header open brackets. We can give it for sure display flex because we want these things one next to another. Let's see what we've done right now. Okay, so we have the logo and then all of them are like that. So these ones are inside the navbar. So we can also give the navbar, nav brackets, another one, display flex. You can just copy paste from here, Control C, Control V, and save. And now we'll have them like that. Of course, they look weird. One thing we see is that this div and that div, they are next to each other. If you remember that we used before the flex grow, it's a nice solution. We'll go on the logo and tell it to grow, and we just have to set it to number 1. Let's see. We'll target this one we said, dot nav logo, flex grow 1, save. That's good for now. Let's see what we can do about these things. The navbar right now, it has display flex. Let's give it some gap of 30 pixels. Promising. Here we see that these icons are touching the top. We'll target them right here. Let's give them margin top 10 pixels. Save. Kinda better. The titles, we want them right next to each icon. So let's target all the A's from in here that they have these two items, image and books, and right now they are one on top of each other. So we'll go nav space A. I will give it again display flex, save. All right. We see that they are underlined, and of course we don't like that. There's an easy way to fix this. We write text decoration, none, save. Even better, but their color is still blue, I think. So we'll go color black. Let's make them a bit bigger as well. Font size 1 rem, and let's make them bold. Font weight 500. Save. Okay, for now maybe we can make them a little bit larger. Let's use 1.5 rem and save. We'll keep it that way. Let's try to center all these things. We'll go to header and we'll add align items, center, save. One thing we need to do for sure is to have this bar following us down there and not stay pinned up there. There's a simple solution to that. We go to the whole header, all this thing, and we'll say position, fixed, save. Okay, so now this thing is following, but we see that some stuff broke. We'll have to go on and fix them. Why this happened is because the moment we said position fixed, it's trying to keep everything back together. So let's start debugging now. We'll give the whole thing a background color of white, and let's try to give it a width of 100% just to see if it's gonna solve what we got. Okay, now we are way better than before. This line looks too fat for me. I want to see if we can limit it, and also I want to add some shadow like we did all over the other boxes there. So we'll have some separation here visually to make it a bit prettier. So let's find a shadow and just copy the whole line again classically. Back to the header, we paste it. And let's try to add a height of 85 pixels, save. Now this is a little bit more discreet. I just see that the logo is kind of hiding up there. I think we've used it before. If we just go to the logo here and write flex start, save. Okay, let's push it a little bit further down. Here we have two navigation logos. Here we have to put IMG because we target the image here specifically. Didn't get the height that we gave it because we have target directly the image for that, and we didn't. So we fixed that, and we'll give it also margin top 10 pixels. Looks good. Because these ones are touching the corners, I want to go to the whole header and give it some padding left and right and stuff like that. Let's try to see how this works. So let's go padding. I give it top just 5 pixels. Right 120 pixels, bottom 0 pixels, and left 100 pixels. Let's save this. So this looks good, but we lost one of them. And this happens because all this margin we put up here, it's pushing the whole thing over to the right. So if I put here padding left 300 and save, this thing is pushing all of those on the right as well. That's why, if you remember in the beginning of the video here, we used something called box sizing border box. So the moment you put border box here, box sizing border box, and save, it's telling it that no matter how long I push things over to the right, you don't have to add them by pushing anything over there. You have to keep the maximum as the maximum and subtract what we add here. So this is the border box and it helps a lot. Let's now put the logo back there. We will put this back to 100 and save. One thing I want to show you actually, if we go up here and we give opacity 0.5, save, you will see that this bar is getting on top of all this stuff. So we are hiding them. Let's try to push them down a little bit. We can go to the landing, that is the section underneath that we are covering right now. Let's find it here. All right. I will give it a padding top of 85 pixels, the same size as we put the height of the bar. Save. And now all the photo and all this gap came here. And of course we can remove this opacity right here and save it. Boom. So if we scroll down, we see something that's very annoying. We see these little buttons that they go on top of the bar. This is something that's called z-index, what is coming in front and what is coming behind. So the navbar right now, it's in front of pretty much everything. It's in front of this photo, we are covering it. It's in front of all these elements. It's hiding them, but this ones, it's not in front of them, it's not hiding them. And here we see again that it's not hiding any of those elements right here. That's because they have a greater number on z-index for some reason, these things back here. So what we can do to fix this bug, so we go to the whole header, I will just say z-index, and we'll put a pretty high number. Pretty much everything starts from 1. We can put 100 here because we want to be in front of everything else. So a huge number like 100 is gonna fix all these things. And let's press save. And now we no longer have all these issues. The navbar is in front of everything. Let's try to center this. Let's go to these images. Instead of margin top, let's try padding 10 pixels all over. Save. Now we have some space here at least. And on nav A, that it has these two items inside, I wanna try align items center. Let's try that. Align items center. Save. Finally, we see some good structure here. So what is left actually to do is only the rollovers here to make them look like they are buttons. And let's see actually that they work. We see books. What's going on here is that because our navbar is 85 pixels, we are covering the title here. So we have to give the title some extra space. Go books, songs. Yeah, it's happening all over the place and serious, but at least they work. I think these ones were the H2s. So let's target the H2 separately here because we don't want to mess with the H1 up there. They already had, I see, padding top 50 pixels. By targeting only the H2s, we can increase this to, let's say, 80 pixels. Save. A little bit more they want. Let's make it 130. Save. Perfect. So what I want to do here is to make these ones look like buttons because now when we put the mouse on top of them, nothing happens. Let's change that. So we'll go nav A. I will put nav space A hover. Let's try to put a border this time because we haven't used one before. We'll go border style, solid. We said at some point that this means it's gonna be a straight line. Border width 1 pixel, how thick it's going to be. Border color, let's put light gray. And let's give them also a background color, RGB. I will set all the values to 240. Let's give some border radius as well, 15 pixels. This is better, but we see some movement here. Why is this movement happening? If you ask yourself, it's happening because we add a border only on the hover. So when the border appears, it's pushing everything 1 pixel around. If we turn the border, for instance, to 5 pixels, so it's gonna be more visible for us, the difference. We see now that it's moving a lot more. We'll turn it back to 1. And how we fix this is that we go over here and we just give it border as well of 1 pixel, and this time we're gonna have it border color white exactly as the background, so it's gonna be pretty much invisible. And now they are pretty steady. So these boxes look too tall. I wanna try to limit the height a little bit. Let's see if we can do it through CSS. If we target all the A and give it some fixed height of, let's try 55 pixels, save. Better. One last thing is that the text is touching here, so we'll give it also padding right. Let's try 10 pixels, save. I think now we are pretty much ready. One thing I want to say is that when we click these ones, they go again. It's very robotic. They just teleport us there. And of course, if you want to go to the top, we press this one. So let's try to make a scrolling effect. It's pretty easy. You just go on top of the CSS here and we target the whole HTML document. So we'll go HTML. We open brackets. I will say scroll behavior, smooth, save. Oh, this is so awesome. It makes a huge difference because now you can navigate like properly all over. So one thing we'll have to check is what's going on if somebody is watching this site on a huge screen. So we can right click and inspect, and here we can put a crazy number like 2000 pixels. And we see that our site is a bit breaking, and if we go even higher, 300, you see how it looks super weird. So what we want to say is contain this to a fixed width and hopefully center it. So one easy way to do this is that we'll go on the body and we'll say that the maximum width is going to be 1600 pixels. Let's put pixels as well, of course, and save. So this way we see that it's limiting over here and the whole site looks good, except of the navbar that's extending. And also this stays on the left. We want it centered. How to put it centered? There's a small hack. When you say here margin 0, you put space and you write auto and save, and this way it's gonna be centered, hopefully nice. And of course the navigation is crazy because it moved everything outside of the screen. This happens because of position fixed, the navbar. So let's go back to the navbar here where we said position fixed, it was inside the header. So we'll go here as well and we'll give it a max width 1600 pixels and save it, and hopefully boom, it brought them back together. So ta-da, you're in the end. We even debugged the site a little bit. You can go zoom in, zoom out, nothing breaks, everything works, everything is scrolling. We have buttons, navigation buttons, everything. What I want you to do now actually is that if you go on the images that we downloaded, it has some more icons. One is games, another one is list or supermarket. I want you to go and improvise and try to make a new category of your own and style it on your own. So you can use a combination of what we learned and put any information you want. It's gonna be freestyle. So you will have to do your own investigation and you will have to do your own designs, and you can go on and try to improvise and play around and mess around with stuff. So this is your last task that you will have to go on and do on your own. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you made it this far, I want you to know that inside the tutorial section, if you scroll down, you can find comments and you can put here your links and we can see all your creations and congratulate you. And if you appreciate this video, you can go on and do some small donation. Even £1 or €2 is pretty important for me. You just go here and you can either check out with your PayPal or your credit card or whatever you like.
Alright, so that was the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it and you had a lot of things to learn. I'm super curious to see how many of you reached this point and actually finished the video. So if you did, hit me on the comments below because I want to personally congratulate you. And of course we'll have more tutorials. You can browse in the channel and check them out. Or if you need something specific, let me know in the comments and I'll probably make a video for you. So that's it. I'm not holding you any longer. It's been already all these hours. So I'll see you guys on the next one.